So I was singing Les Mis while cleaning, as I do, and I was struck with a mystery. A contradiction, perhaps? I'll explain all the details, but it's the early 1800s, location France. A police inspector, Javert,
And I'm Javert!
thinks he has found the escaped criminal, Jean Valjean. Javert identifies him by the prisoner's brand upon his chest. Just before the prisoner can be convicted, the mayor of the town stands up and rips off his shirt to show that he also has a prisoner brand on his chest. He is the real Jean Valjean. Which raises the question, who is fake Valjean? How did he also end up with a brand upon his chest? How was Inspector Javert fooled? Now, if you don't have the whole musical memorized, or haven't read the book since like high school, that's fair, but disappointing. So here's a quick recap. The musical Les Mis is a pretty famous musical. It's been running in London's West End since 1985, and it tells an excellent story of trials and redemption. Jean Valjean is a French man in the 1800s who steals a loaf of bread to feed his sister and her son. He is caught, and to make amends for his crime, he must work on a prisoner chain gang for an entirely reasonable 19 years. At the beginning of the musical, Valjean is released by zealot of justice and epitomal stick-in-the-mud, Inspector Javert.
And I'm Javert!
With a blessing from YouTube's inscrutable copyright gods, it goes something like this. Now bring me prisoner 24601. Your time is up and your parole's begun. You know what that means.
Yes, it means I'm free.
No! It means you get your yellow ticket of leave. You are a thief. The yellow ticket is a parole document that Valjean must show everywhere he goes to forever mark him as a former convict. As you can imagine, this means no one will give him work, a place to stay. He finds compassion from a bishop, but feeling himself begin to embody the criminal the rest of the world sees him as, he steals some of the bishop's silver and absconds, captured by the police. In a profound act of mercy, the bishop tells the police that not only was the stolen silver actually a gift, but that Valjean had forgotten to take an additional 2 silver candlesticks. With the police gone, the bishop directs Valjean to use the precious silver to become an honest man. We skip forward in time, and Valjean has shredded his yellow ticket of leave and violated his parole to take on the fake identity of Monsieur Madeleine. He becomes immensely successful as a wealthy factory owner and mayor. You know, he pulled himself up by his bootstraps and his precious silver. One day, there's an incident where a runaway cart crashes and pins a man, and Valjean, who, by the way, is apparently just a massive hunk of a dude, pulls the entire cart off him to everyone's amazement. Especially Javert, because you see, Javert remembers Valjean's inhuman strength from his days on the chain gang, and has been hunting him down for violating his parole ever since. In yet another strange twist of fate, and the subject of this video, shortly after, Javert finds a criminal who seems to be the missing Valjean, removing all suspicion from the real Valjean, which is really strange. Who even is this fake Valjean? I present the musical's evidence before you, badly because I'm really afraid of YouTube's copyright system. I still don't really get how it works. Sometimes my stuff gets copyrighted for no reason, even when I have the license. I don't know. So apologies in advance. I have only known one other who could do what you have done. He's a convict on the chain gang. He's been 10 years on the run.
You see, this man denies it all and shows no sign of understanding or repentance. Come to that, then you be sure that I am not your man.
I have known the thief for ages, tracked him down through thick and thin, and to make the matter certain, there's a brand upon his skin. So interesting. There's a brand upon his skin, which presumably is Valjean's prisoner number, 24601. Javert doesn't mention him looking similar, his strength, just the brand. The one thing that, in theory, no one could mistake. But we need more information. So let's look at Valjean's reflection in the courtroom scene. This comes from the musical's libretto. So this seems to imply that Javert hadn't even really looked at fake Valjean, just at his brand. But then, He also says that he wears his face. And that's strange because that seems to imply that they do look similar. Both this and another character later explicitly mention Valjean has the prisoner brand. So what is up with this prisoner brand? Do Valjean and fake Valjean somehow have the same one? So here's what we know so far. Fake Valjean has a brand upon his skin. Real Valjean has, according to the lyrics, a brand upon his chest. And, according to the libretto stage directions, a number on his chest. So there seems to be a few possibilities. First, the two prisoner brands are both numbers that are not the same number. Brands are scars, and scars could heal really weirdly. A 6 could look like an 8 or something. Javert could maybe need glasses. Second, the prisoner brands are numbers, and are both somehow 24601. I mean, I guess France is a big country, and bureaucratic errors aren't inconceivable. I guess two prisoners could have the same number? And finally, the prisoner brands are not numbers. So the libretto stage directions definitely mention a number, but the lyrics themselves only say brand. So I looked into the historical precedent for prisoner brands, and if Valjean worked on a galley, he may have been branded with the fleur de lis. However, since he was likely sentenced under the French Penal Code of 1810, he may have received the letter R. But there was actually a whole set of brand letters he could receive, from anything from forgery to arson, and at this point I had way too many questions, so I decided to do some reading. That's right, Les Misérables is a book, and if you thought the 3-hour musical was long, oh boy. So I was starting to think that maybe this was just a adaptation mishap. Perhaps the book was more complex, and the musical was a simplification that happened to miss some important context. So in the book, it all starts when Javert goes to speak with his boss, Valjean. His false identity, still Monsieur Madeleine, mayor of Mondreux-Semer. The real Valjean has been found. The paper that Monsieur Madeleine held fell from his hand. He raised his head, looked steadily at Javert, and said in an inexpressible tone, "Oh." Javert goes on to tell Monsieur Madeleine, Valjean in disguise, about poor fake Valjean, who now has a name, Champmathieu. Javert continued, "I will tell you how it is, Monsieur Mayor. There was, it appears, in the country, near, a simple sort of fellow who was called Father Champmathieu. He was very poor. Nobody paid any attention to him. There was a theft, a wall scaled, branches of trees broken. Our Champmathieu was arrested. He had, even then, a branch of an apple tree in his hand. The rogue was caged." So Father Champmathieu was to be jailed in this rural area, but since the jail is in bad shape, they move him to a more official prison department in Arras. His jailer is a former convict named Brevet, and at seeing poor Champmathieu, cries out, "Look up here, my good man! You are Jean Valjean!" "Jean Valjean? Who is Jean Valjean?" Champmathieu plays off the astonished. "Don't play ignorant," said Brevet. "You are Jean Valjean. You were in the galleys at Toulon. It is 20 years ago. We were there together." Champmathieu denied it all. So it's one thing for a random former convict to be confused, but as Javert tells his story to the mayor, he says, "Monsieur Mayor, truth is truth. I am sorry for it, but that man is Jean Valjean. I recognize him also." Monsieur Madeleine said in a very low voice, "Are you sure?" Javert began to laugh with the suppressed laugh which indicates profound conviction. So in the book, Javert is even more of a drama queen, and begs Valjean to accept his resignation for ever having suspected him after the runaway cart affair. "And now that I see the real Valjean, I do not understand how I ever could have believed anything else. I beg your pardon, Monsieur Mayor." Valjean is like, "Nah, it's okay." Then, the Who Am I song is like a whole chapter of Valjean trying to wrestle with his guilt. "The reader has doubtless divined that Monsieur Madeleine is none other than Jean Valjean." The day of the trial arrives, and it is not going well for poor Champmathieu. A buzz ran through the crowd and almost invaded the jury. It was evident that the man was lost. "Officers," said the judge, "enforce order. I am about to sum up the case." At this moment, there was a movement near the judge. Monsieur Madeleine turned towards the jurors in court and said in a mild tone, "Gentlemen of the jury, release the accused. Your Honor, order my arrest. He is not the man whom you seek. It is I. I am Jean Valjean." Not a breath stirred. To the first commotion of astonishment had succeeded a sepulchral silence. And so they don't believe him. The judge even calls for a physician to attend to the poor, confused mayor. You say Monsieur Madeleine has gone mad. You do not believe me. This is hard to be borne. Do not condemn that man at least. Would that Javert were here. He would recognize me. Yeah, Javert isn't even at this part of the trial.
And I'm Javert.
So at that point, in a strange twist, Valjean proves his identity by knowing the tattoo of a date on the arm of the man who accused Chaumetier. So no prisoner brand is revealed. I also just find this kind of hilarious from Chaumetier's perspective. Like, this poor guy steals some apples and goes to jail, and then gets transferred to this like really intense jail, and then this guy recognizes him as this super wanted criminal, and then suddenly everyone is recognizing him as this super wanted criminal who he doesn't even know. So he goes to trial, and he's about to be condemned for being some random guy, and then suddenly the mayor of the town shows up, and he's like, actually, I'm the guy. And then he gets released. But what did this mean for the musical? The brand is an important thematic element that symbolizes both the tangible curse of injustice Valjean carries, but also the source of his ability to empathize and connect with the humanity on the wrong side of the law. This makes him the perfect foil for Javert, who, despite being born inside a cell, sees himself as categorically separate from the scum who would violate the law. Javert's brand is invisible, no one has to know, but his ability to pass as fundamentally righteous disconnects him from the humanity of others. So that's all nice, but none of this explains why Chaumetier has the brand. So then I thought, well, I guess the answer to this question has to be in the original 1980 French concept album. This is probably a translation issue. So before the musical with English lyrics, there was originally a concept album in French. It's really good.
Dites-moi ce qui se passe. Qui est mort? Qui a tué?
I figured maybe in order to make the lyrics rhyme, or have a reasonable meter in English, the part about Chaumetier having the brand may have just been added as an error in judgment. So at first I panicked, because this may come as a surprise, but I don't speak French, and would never be able to phonetically type out what I was hearing into Google Translate, because French is a silly language and has a lot of extra vowels and letters. Luckily, I found the album on YouTube, and Mildetruth, bless their soul, like and subscribe, had the lyrics in the description. So then I was going through the tracks and realized that the entire carte affaire, Chaumetier, who am I subplot just isn't in the concept album. There's not even the confrontation. It's just Fantine this, Fantine that. In fact, Valjean is effectively le maire until he goes to pick up Cosette, and then he's suddenly now Valjean. So one of the cool things about the musical is that the whole heckin' thing is sung, so it's only fair to assume that the concept album may have imagined parts that would be talking. So yeah, doesn't seem like there was a mistranslation. Now, there's also a French version of the musical, but it was actually translated and adapted from the English musical. I checked it out just in case, but I can't find a recording that has the interlude where Javert mentions the brand. And Who Am I, Comme me fait, is similar in that it says Chaumetier resembles him. So I guess we'll never know how Chaumetier in the musical ended up with the brand 24601. However, I like the theory that musical Javert just has really bad eyesight. He misreads the brand. Later, he thinks he's reasonably disguised to infiltrate the rebel scum. He's not. At one point, he even walks off a bridge. Poor guy. Luckily though, this whole brand inaccuracy issue can be easily resolved by just tweaking one tiny line. I have known the thief for ages, tracked him down through thick and thin, and to make the matter certain, convicts recognize him. He will bend, he will break, this time there is no mistake. Just to fix this minor but fairly key inaccuracy. Thanks for watching. Bonus fact. This is super embarrassing, but until like last year, I thought the musical was about the French Revolution. Like, the big one. But it turns out that it's actually using the setting of the 1832 June Rebellion. The French Revolution had already happened back in 1789. And, you know, this was obvious in retrospect. If only because the French Revolution kind of succeeded, and in Les Mis, the 1832 June Rebellion canonically does not.